Good morning. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jananjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Is someone in the kitchen? Yamunatira Vanachari. Why is the light on? Is someone in there? Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Chandan Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Move that chair. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtottara Shri Srimadabhaya Sharanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Thakur Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Taking over the world with Srila Prabhupada's transcendental book distribution Ki Jai. All glory to these simple devotees. All glory to these simple devotees. All glory to these simple devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Bhutara Srimati Bhakti Vikas Swami Namani. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, text number 23. So, Bhutaihi Mahadbhihi Yaha Imaha Puraha Vibhuhu Nirmaya Shete Yat Amushu पूरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडश आत्मकः सः अलङ्कृशिष्ठ भगवान् वचांसि मे भूतैर्महद्भिर्य इमः भूतैर्महद्भिर्य इमाः पुरो विभुर् भूतैर्महद्भिर्य इमाः पुरो विभुर् निर्मायशेते यदमूषु पूरुषः निर्मायशेते यदमूषु पूरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मकः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मकः सलङ्कृशिष्ठ भगवान् वचांसि मे सलङ्कृशिष्ठ भगवान् वचांसि मे भूतैर्महद्भिर्य इमाः पुरो विभुर् निर्मायशेते यदमूषु पूरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मकः सलङ्कृशिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे भूतैर्महद्भिर्य इमाः पुरो विभुर् निर्मायशेते यदमूषु पूरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मकः सोऽलङ्कृशिष्ठ भगवान् वचांसि मे Please repeat. महद्भिर्य इमः पुरो विभुर् निर्मायशेति तदमूषु पुरुषः No, for you to eat. For you. निर्मायशेते यदमूषु पूरुषः गुणाञ्च षोडशात्मकम् सोऽलङ्कृशिष्ठ भगवान् पचांसि मे भूतैर्महद्भिर्य इमाः पुरो विभुर् निर्मायशेते यदमूषु पूरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मकः सोऽलङ्कृशिष्ठ भगवान् वचांसि मे Mataji, please. भूतैर्महद्भिर्य इमाः पुरो विभुर् निर्मायशेते यदमूषु पूरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मकः सलाङ्कृशिष्ठ भगवान् वचांसि मे भूतैर्महद्भिर्य इमाः पुरो विभुर् भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मकः सोलाङ्कृशिष्ठ भगवान् वचांसि मे One more. Utairmahadbirema puro vibhur nirmaya shete yadamushu purushaha bhunte gunan shodasha shodashatmakaha salankrishishtha bhagavan vachamsi me bhutaihi by the elements mahadbihi mahadbihi of material creation yaha he who sorry imaha all these puraha bodies vibhuhu of the Lord nirmaya for being set up shete lie down yat amushu one who incarnated purushaham Lord Vishnu bhunkte causes to be subjected gunan the three modes of nature shodasham in 16 divisions shodasham atmakaham being the generator of these 16 saha he alankrishishtam may decorate Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Vachamsi, statements. May, my. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements by lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation causes the living beings to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material modes, which are his generator, be pleased to decorate my statements. Purport. A fully dependent devotee, Shukadev, as a fully dependent devotee, Shukadev Goswami, unlike a mundane man who is proud of his own capability, invokes the pleasure of the personality of Godhead so that his statements may be successful and be appreciated by the hearers. The devotee always thinks of himself as instrumental for anything successfully carried out, and he declines to take credit for anything done by himself. The godless atheist wants to take all credit for activities, not knowing that even a blade of grass cannot move without the sanction of the Supreme Spirit, the personality of Godhead. Shukadev Goswami, therefore, wants to move Brahma by the direction of the Supreme Lord, who inspired Brahma to speak the Vedic wisdom. The truths described in the Vedic literatures are not theories of mundane imagination, nor are they fictitious, as the less intelligent class of men sometimes think. The Vedic truths are all perfect descriptions of the factual truth, without any mistake or delusion. And Shikadeva Goswami wants to present the truths of creation not as a metaphysical theory of philosophical speculation, but as the actual facts and figures of the subject, since he would be dictated to by the Lord exactly in the same manner as Brahmaji was inspired. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, the Lord is himself the father of the Vedanta knowledge. It is he only who knows the factual purport of the Vedanta philosophy. So there is no greater truth than the principles of religion mentioned in the Vedas. Such Vedic knowledge or religion is disseminated by authors like Shikadev Goswami because he is a humble devotional servitor of the Lord who has no desire to become a self appointed interpreter without authority. That is the way of explaining the Vedic knowledge, technically known as a parampara system or the descending process. The intelligent man can see without mistake that any material creation, whether one's own body or a fruit or flower, cannot beautifully grow up without the spiritual touch. The greatest intelligent man of the world or the greatest man of science can present everything very beautifully only insofar as the spirit life is there, or in so much as spiritual touch is there. Therefore, the source of all truths is the Supreme Spirit and not gross matter, as wrongly conceived by the gross materialists. We get information from the Vedic literature. The Lord Himself first entered the vacuum of the material universe and thus as all things gradually developed one after another. Similarly, the Lord is situated as localized Paramatma in every individual being. Hence, everything is done by Him very beautifully. The 16 principal creative elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, and the 11 sense organs, first developed from the Lord Himself and were thereby shared by the living entities. Thus, the material elements were created for the enjoyment of the living entities. The beautiful arrangement behind all material manifestations is therefore made possible by the energy of the Lord, and the individual living entity can only pray to the Lord to understand it properly. Since the Lord is a supreme entity different from Shikadev Goswami, the prayer can be offered to him. It's amazing. The Lord helps the living entity to enjoy the material creation, but the Lord is aloof from such false enjoyment. Shikadev Goswami prays for the mercy of the Lord, not only for being helped personally in presenting the truth, but also for helping others to whom he would like to speak. Om Agyanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Tafpada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिविकास स्वामिनिति नामिने निजगुरु हरिवाण्या कृष्णचितो विचिन्तो परिहित पितृगेहाद्यन्द संसारकूपः प्रभु भजन सुखाब्दो मज्जयन् स्वं सविश्वो भुवि जयति विकासो भक्तिपूर्वो यतीन्द्रः नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वृषभानुसुता दायितानुचरं चरणाश्रितरेणुधरस्तमहं महदद्भुतपावनशक्तिपदं प्रणमामि सदा प्रभुपादपदम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे वागीशा यस्य वदने लक्ष्मीर्यस्य च वक्षसि यस्यास्ते हृदये संवित्तं नृसिंहमहं भजे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्. This verse we're reading, this itself is actually a Mangalacharan that Shukadeva Goswami is saying that may the Supreme Lord, who is the who enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements by lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material modes which are his generated, be pleased to decorate my statements. So Shukadeva Goswami is stressing upon the fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present within all the atoms of the universe and everything else also, and all the 16 modes of material nature, and everything that is created here actually is completely the Supreme Personality of Godhead is personally present in all these things. In the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says, Ekopyaso Rashiyutam Jagadanda Kotim Yachaktirasti Jagadanda Shayayadantaha Andantarasta Paramanu Shayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is present within all the atoms of the universe. He is also present between those atoms also. So, Shukadeva Goswami is praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that just like the Supreme Lord is present in everything personally, he also personally be present in his words. And I feel very enlivened to actually be given the opportunity to speak about this verse, because I remember when the chapter first began, I was speaking about I was speaking on that verse, and I was thinking that there is a verse in the second canto somewhere where Shukadeva Goswami prays to the Supreme Lord to be present within every statement of his. And it's here it is. This such a fantastic verse. It's so amazing that we can understand and we can see Prabhupada in this purport is speaking about two things primarily, which are one thing is that no speaker or no bona fide speaker of the Bhagavatam or no person who can comment on the Srimad Bhagavatam actually takes the credit for himself and does not think that he is the doer. And the other point that you know without spiritual touch, matter cannot nothing can happen to matter. Life comes from life. So these are the 2 points that Srila Prabhupada is making in these purports, in this purport, and we can see that you know Prabhupada is saying that the greatest intelligent man of the world or the greatest man of science can present everything beautifully only insofar as spirit soul is there, or in as much as a spiritual touch is there. So any ability that we have, anything that we actually do, Krishna is actually the ability in man. What's the Sanskrit for this one? Balam balavatam chaham kama raga no kama raga vivarjitam dharma not this one. Um, be huh? No, no, that's the wrong words. Bija mam sarvabhutanam viddhipata sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejas tejasvi namaham. Right? Is that what you just said? Okay. Yeah. Krishna is saying in this. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Krishna is saying that Krishna is the ability in men. Krishna is the ability in men. Whatever ability is there, Krishna is personally that ability. Krishna is a person. Krishna gives that ability in a person. You see someone performing such amazing deeds, we can understand that actually Krishna is performing those amazing deeds. Krishna gives the intelligence to the living entity to perform certain activities. All these things are there. And, a person who's intelligent will understand this. Just like the Srimad Bhagavatam says, Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramayamuda vasudeve bhagavati kurvanti atma prasadanim. That sorry. Taya vilashateshveshu guneshu gunavaniva antapravisha abhati vijnanena vijambitaha. After creating the material substance, the Lord Vasudeva expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. That we see over here in this purport, Prabhupada is saying that thus the material elements were created for the enjoyment of the living entities. The beautiful arrangement behind all material manifestations is therefore made possible by the energy of the Lord, and the individual living entity can only pray to understand it properly. Since the Lord is a supreme entity, there you go. This is the point. The Lord helps the living entity to enjoy the material creation, but the Lord is aloof from such false enjoyment. That's the point, and that's this verse. Every line in Srila Prabhupada's purport is actually like a few verses from Shastra. And the more we become learned, I've stated this so many times, the more we become learned in Prabhupada's books and understanding the scriptures and this Bhagavatam and all this, we can realize and understand that more, that every statement that Srila Prabhupada says is actually a Vedic, is a verse from the Vedas, is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the bhajans of the previous acharyas. Everything Srila Prabhupada said is completely Shabda Pramana. So, anyone who gives a class, if they don't know what to do, they can just look at every sentence and see, okay, which verse is this referred to? How is Prabhupada saying this? And then the more we think about this, the more we can get absorbed in thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can see this over here. He's saying, the Lord is aloof from all enjoyment. So we can understand it like this. And where is this? Okay, yes. Okay, yeah, there you go. Sa eva yam. I haven't quoted this verse in a long time. Okay. Sa evadam sasar chagre bhagavantam adhokshajam satvam Bhagavan Atma Maya Sadasad Rupaya Chasha Guna Maya Guno Vibhu. Yes, okay. Sa evadam sasar jagre Bhagavan Atma Maya Sadasad Rupaya Chasha Guna Maya Guno Vibhu. It's been a long time. In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute personality of God, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. So, whatever we are seeing over here in this world is all created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is the cause and the effect. And then all this takes place by Krishna's own internal potency. The modes of material nature, behaving the way they behave, all the elements that we see in this material world, the way they are, all these things are simply created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they're created by his internal potency. And the more we understand that all these things are created by the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the more we can be Krishna conscious. We can be Krishna conscious in so many ways. If we have a desire to. I was thinking, I'm such a fool, and I really have no knowledge of quoting verses or anything like that. But sometimes, when you look at the time, let's just say it says 4:34 a.m. or 4:34 p.m. Almost every day, when the singer is singing Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavad Prasada, that point of time it's like 4:34 a.m. When I look at the clock, I think, oh wow, 4:34. Okay, Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprashena Sevaya Upadekshantite Jnanam Jnanena Sattvadarshanaha. That 4:34 is Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text number 34. Like that, no matter what the time is in the day, let's just say it's 8:12 right now. If we knew the 12th chapter of the 8th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, we could think, oh wow, that this 8:12 is this. This is the verse. And 9:34, everyone knows. What is 9:34? Manmanabhava Madbhakto. Everyone knows or only few know? You know? You know? You don't know? Why not? Why don't you know? You should know. Manmanabhava Madbhakto Madhyachi Mam Namaskuru. Mame Vaishasi Yuktva Satyam Te Prati no. Mame Vaishasi Yuktva Evam Atma Namat Parayanaha. There's two verses very similar. So we can see, wow, 9:34. Okay, the time reminds you of a particular verse, from the Shastra. And the more we have a desire to do it, we can actually become completely Krishna conscious. We'll have no time for Maya. You can look at the clock, and you can 24 hours a day. If you just stare at the clock, you can be Krishna conscious. 24 hours a day. Isn't that amazing? Krishna is so amazing? Krishna is present everywhere. If we simply have the vision to see. Premajana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That how will you understand the Achintya Guna and Swarupa? How will you understand the Guna and the Swarupa of Achintya, of a person who is unlimited? Achintya is also a name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Bhakti Vikas Maharaj gave like 3 lectures on this word Achintya. Inconceivable. How will you be able to perceive someone who is inconceivable? How will you be able to perceive the qualities in the form of a person who is achintya guna swarupa? How will you understand of a person who's inconceivable? Well, the answer is premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. That the eyes of the devotee must be anointed by the salve of love of God. When the eyes of a devotee are anointed by the salve of love of God, then he can actually see Krishna. He can actually see Premanjana. It's such a beautiful word, actually, Premanjana. I was explaining yesterday that the word Anjana means ointment. Or like the makeup that not only girls, even boys also in Vedic culture they also do. It says that Krishna. It's like one of my favorite part of the you know Krishna book. Man, will I really be able to remember um, this? Let me see. This is a really, really, really beautiful verse. Um, no, I'm unable to find this verse right now. But it says that when the the wives of the Vedic Brahmanas, when they actually heard that Krishna and Balaram are waiting outside the forest just so they can come and receive receive some boga or whatever from Krishna. Then at that point of time, they where is this? Let me find this exact verse. It's such a beautiful verse. Okay. The wives of the Brahmanas were always eager to see Krishna, and their minds had been enchanted by descriptions of him. Thus, as they heard that he had come, they became very excited. Taking along in large vessels the 4 kinds of foods full of fine taste and aromas, all the ladies went forth to meet their beloved, just to see, just as rivers flowed to the sea, toward the sea. Although their husbands, brothers, sons, and relatives tried to forbid them from going to the sea, from going, their hope of seeing Krishna, cultivated by extensive hearing of his transcendental qualities, won out. Along the river Yamuna, within a garden decorated with buds of Ashoka trees, they caught sight of him strolling in the company of cowherd boys and his elder brother. Okay, this is such a beautiful verse. Shyamam hiranya paridhim vanamalya bharha dhatu pravala natavesham. Oh, natavesham, not natavar. Okay. Dhatu pravala natavesham anavratam she vinyast hastamitarena dhunanam abjam karnotpalaka kapa kapola mukhabjahasam. This is such so beautiful. This verse is so beautiful. His complexion, Krishna's complexion, was dark blue and his garment golden. Wearing a peacock feather, wearing a peacock feather, colored minerals. Like what does that mean? That Krishna's face is decorated with these colored minerals. So, like I'm saying, not just girls, boys also wear. You know, in Vedic culture, colored minerals, sprigs of flower buds. What's a sprig? Anyone know? Anyway, sprigs of flower buds and a garland of forest flowers and leaves. He was dressed just like a dramatic dancer. He rested one hand upon the shoulder of a friend, and with the other he twirled a lotus. Lilies graced his ears, his hair hung down over his cheeks, and his lotus like face was smiling. Praya Shruta Priyatamodhya Karnapurair Yasmin Nimagna Manasastam Atakshi Randraihi Antav Praveshya Suchiram Paribhyaptapam Pragyam Yatabhimatayo Vijahur Narendra. O ruler of men, those Brahmana ladies had heard about Krishna, their beloved, and his glories had become the constant ornaments of their ears. That's so beautiful. Krishna's glories had become the constant ornament of their ears. Indeed, their minds were always absorbed in him. Through the apertures of their eyes, they now forced him to enter within their hearts, and then they embraced him within for a long time. In this way, they finally gave up the pain of separation from him, just as sages give up the anxiety of false ego by embracing their innermost consciousness. So this is so beautiful. Krishna is there. But how will we see Krishna? Achintya Guna Swarupam. How will we see? By the process of hearing from the Guru Parampara, by the process of hearing this. But we see that the scientists, all of them, they refuse to accept the personality of the Supreme Person. They refuse to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why do they refuse to accept Him? Why? Because they're envious of Krishna. Because they're envious of Krishna, they refuse to accept the supremacy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because they refuse to do so, moghasha mogha karmano, mogha gnana vichetasaha, rakshasi masarim shaiva, prakriti mohinim shitaha. Their hopes are baffled. Their activities are baffled. Moghasha mogha karmano, mogha gnana, their knowledge is baffled. Vichetasaha, everything else is baffled. Rakshasi masarim shaiva, prakriti mohinim shitaha. They come up with this kind of false theories and false understanding which is completely demoniac. Therefore, everything they do are completely baffled. We are reading this verse that we are studying, in the morning. We are saying that, Krishna, he's he's always a thorn, he's always a problem in the lives of the demons. Krishna's always a problem. Because you see, all these scientists, all of them, they can, therefore, Prabhupada says, and not grossly, not gross matter as long, therefore, the source of all truths is the Supreme Spirit, and not gross matter as wrongly conceived by the gross materialist. We get information from the Vedic literature that the Lord Himself first entered into the vacuum of this material universe. So we see that the people who are envious of Krishna put forward theories and put forward propositions which in reality do not make sense. But they come up with so many complicated ideas in order to remove Krishna from the picture. And the best way to remove Krishna from the picture is to make everything as vague as possible. You make it vague. You make it vague. You just give it, you say like the, quantum energy, or you can say like, I don't even know all these complicated jargon that the scientists and all of them use to define so many things, and they may have like this and that, and all these principles and laws and this, that, and the other thing. But okay, all these laws are there, all these, all this, principles are there, and this and that. If it's, and then if you ask them how is all this happening, it's happening because of nature. Then Prabhupada would ask them, who is nature? Who is nature? Because of whose nature is this happening? We see so many people. They say, oh yeah, yeah, it's all happening by the laws of nature. Who made the laws of nature? If you don't follow the laws, who will punish? You know, who will punish? Who is making the final call? This they don't want to answer. Why? Because they're envious of Krishna. Therefore, they come up with all these kind of nonsensical ideas where they actually said, oh, God is not here like this, God is not here like that. For a person who's a devotee of Krishna, he cannot but look everywhere and remember Krishna. And for a person who's a non devotee of Krishna, he can look everywhere, but he cannot recognize Krishna. He can look at Krishna himself and still he won't recognize him. We see this, when Krishna was personally manifested here in his pastimes, in his Boma Lila. So many people, saw Krishna, but they didn't realize that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This again. Oh, I got it this time. So many people didn't realize that he is the Supreme Personality of God. Although he was there, personally present, is walking. And we can see when Krishna was walking into the arena, he's going to kill Kamsa. Do you know that verse number for this? That the sages saw him as the Antaryami. I think you can pull it up. The sages saw him as Antaryami. That where is this? Lord Krishna lives Govardhan Hill. Gopi song of separation to the union. Rasa dance. Killing of Arishta. This is it. So, Shukadeva Goswami, thus Krishna made his mind. Okay, okay. It'll be here in this 23rd chapter, in the 42nd chapter of the Krishna book. So we can see over here, it says, okay, as he walked down, okay. Oh yeah, right, that's right, that's right. That's how it is, right? Can you look it up, Mandravan? At the time, entered the arena. Where is that? Oh, 44th chapter, huh? Oh wow, thank God for that. Okay. What's the verse number? You find it? If you don't find it in like a minute, I'll just found it? Okay. 10:43:17. This is a very beautiful verse. Malana mashnay ninam naravaraha srinam smaro murtiman gopanam swajano shatam kshiti bhujam shashta swa pitro shishuhu mrityur bhojapate virad avidusham tattvam param yoginam rishinam para devateti vidito rangam gatasagrajaha. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. So the wrestlers, when Krishna was entering, they saw Krishna as a lightning bolt because Krishna was so strong. The men of Mathura as the best of males. The women as Cupid in person. The cowherd men as the relative. The impious rulers as chastiser. His parents as their child. The king of the Bojas as death. The unintelligent as the supreme law's universal form. The yogis as the absolute truth. And the Vrishnis as their worshipable deity. And then the next one, oh yeah. Where is this verse where Kamsa saw him as death? That's probably the previous, huh? Yeah, but we can see over here that when Krishna, huh? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking because over here it says, Mrityur Bhojapater Virad Avidushanam. That's Kamsa, right? I don't know. This probably not translated here. Mrityu, death. There you go. See, Mrityu Bhojapate. So Bhojapate, the king, Kamsa, the king, he saw Krishna as death personified. He saw Krishna as death personified, So when different people see Krishna, although Krishna was present on the planet, still they didn't accept. Only a few people thought, oh, here's actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They didn't realize Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Even if Krishna is personally present, he does not show. Why? Because people are envious of Krishna. They don't want to see Krishna. That's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Naham prakasa sarvasya, yoga maya samavritaha, mudo yam nabi janati. You don't know this one? Loko mam ajamavyayam. Yes, sir. Seventh chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text number 25. Mudo yam nabi janati, mamebhya paramavyam. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Lokamam ajamavyayam. Yes, okay. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Krishna says this. That this is the reason why, in the seventh chapter, 725, Krishna is saying, Krishna can be standing in front of you. Like, there's this one big demon, in the name of a bogus guru, is a very sad guru. He goes around and, speaks all kinds of nonsense and makes people feel good about their mind or some nonsense like that. And there's a statement where he's saying that even if God comes and tells me something, which I should do, I will not do because I know more than God. So now, what is the hope of these people? Which hell is he going to? Which hell are all his followers going to? Well, I think there's going to be a special department for him, empowered by Kali himself, the empowerment by Kali himself. So, we can see demons, that's the demoniac man. Even if Krishna comes in front of me and tells me something, I won't say because Krishna, I know better than you. What is it? Gnagati Katopi. These people are hopeless. But on the other hand, devotees like Shikadev Goswami, they always see that, it is by the mercy of Krishna, it's by the mercy of the spiritual master that they are always, that they're able to do something and successfully carry these different things out. Why? Because they are blessed by the spiritual master. They are blessed. The blessings of the spiritual master are the most important things that a disciple can receive. The most important things, so many people, they say, oh yeah, love, so then, one disciple asked Prabhupada, what does it mean for a disciple to love the spiritual master? So then he thought Prabhupada is going to say, wow, something about the trees and the sun and like the feelings in the heart or something like this, But then what did Prabhupada say? Anyone know? Yes, but more very close. You're right. You're not wrong. Prabhupada, in this instance, in Nur Vrindavan, said that love for the spiritual master means to stick to the vows of initiation. You show love for the spiritual master by doing that. Because, really, it's sometimes it's hard to follow, right? It's hard to follow, At least for me. Sometimes, it's hard to follow. Like, I'm out there in this material world. It's just me and another brahmachari in the van. We're, let's just say it got late at night. I can just say, hey, you know what? Let's not wake up for Mangalati today. And then, we'll just sleep in. Who can tell us what to do? Anyway, it's just both of us. We could go to the store and buy whatever we want and eat whatever we want. We could do it. It's not impossible. It's possible. So many times, oh, you're so busy and you're so tired, you might as well chant it 16 hours later. Chant it the next day. Chant it the next day. Why not? Just do it. What's the problem? So these kind of obstacles will always be there. Will always be there. I know one, some people who were chanting their rounds every day, and one day they decided they're not going to chant their rounds, and the very next day they stopped chanting their rounds and they blooped out. Just like that. Just like that. You're chanting your rounds, you're doing all these things, and then all of a sudden, you just decide to go and become a bodybuilder. Foolishness, complete utter foolishness. What's the use for doing this? What are we going to get out of this? But love for the spiritual master means to stick to the vows of initiation. That is what love for the spiritual master means. It's not all this, that, and the other thing. That Guru Napi Vichalyate. That the disciple is so fixed in the order of the Guru that he does not even budge from the instructions given to him by the spiritual master. He does not budge. There's one instruction, what did Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur tell Prabhupada? One instruction only, right? What did he tell him? You preach in the English language, and by preaching in the English language and writing books in the English language, not only will your life become successful, the lives of many people will become successful. One order, just one order Prabhupada received from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, right? And just see, by firmly sticking to that one order that Srila Prabhupada got from his spiritual master, how much he was able to do. How much he was able to do. Why? Why was Prabhupada able to do this? Why was he able to do this? Because he had unflinching faith in the orders of the spiritual master. You know, what's the definition of faith? What's the definition of faith? What's the Chaitanya Charitamrita verse for this one? Wow. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kori. Can you look this up, Mitraman? Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kori Sudhida Nishchay Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Kama Krita Hoy. You know, this is Shraddha Shabde. Just look that up. It'll definitely show up. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kori Sudhida Nishchay. That, what Shraddha Shabde, the very word faith, what does it mean? Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kori. To have unflinching trust. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kori Sudhida Nishchay. Unflinching, unbreakable, completely focused and determined trust that Krishna Bhakti Kaile, that by performing devotional service, Sarva Kama Krita Hoy, all our other desires and everything will be completely fulfilled. That is the very definition of faith. You found it? Mitraman? So, anyway, I can look it up. So, we see this over here that Prabhupada had this kind of a faith in his spiritual master. And because he had, is Madhya Leela, chapter 2, 22, text number 62. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe, Sudrida Nishchay, Krishna Bhakti Kale Sarva Kama Krita Hoy. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. Purport. Firm faith and confidence are called Shraddha. When one engages in the Lord's devotional service, he is to be understood to have performed all his responsibilities in this material world. This is Deva Shri Bhuta Ninam Pitrinam, wherever. There you go. The best achievement of all fruitive activity is detachment from material life, and this detachment is spontaneously enjoyed by devotee firmly engaged in the Lord's service. So, when a person is firmly engaged in Krishna's service, natural knowledge, causeless knowledge and detachment naturally arises. This is just a byproduct of engaging in Krishna conscious activities. When a person engages in Krishna conscious activities, then at that point of time, they will naturally feel very inspired to serve Krishna. When Krishna, appeared, when Lord Brahma came back with all the cowherd boys and the calves, and he went to see Krishna, what happened? What happened in that pastime when Lord Brahma came back? And he offered prayers to whom? But okay, he offered prayers. What happened before that and after that? Before what he said and after what you said. He saw Krishna, then what happened? Huh? Yes, he saw the cows and the cowherd boys, and then, that's right, he saw that all these cowherd boys and all of them transformed into like Vishnu forms. This is really beautiful painting. They transformed into these Vishnu forms, and for each of these Vishnu forms, there were so many demigods and all these people, Apsaras, Gandharvas, offering prayers and bowing down and doing all these things. And there, Prabhupada writes this beautiful description in the Christian book that the Supreme Lord, in all the Vishnu forms, he was constantly looking from left to right, and he's constantly looking at his devotees. And the eyes of the Supreme Lord, the corners of the eyes of the Supreme Lord were tinged with red to give the devotees, in its transcendental passion, or to give them ever fresh and ever new inspiration to serve him. Ever fresh and ever new, just by glancing at the devotee. The Supreme Lord gives the devotee ever new, Nava Nava Rasa, ever new and ever fresh inspiration to serve him. You know. So when a person has firm faith and executes all the orders given by the spiritual master, then he will naturally feel ever fresh and ever increasing inspiration to go and perform the activities given to him by his spiritual master. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Korea Aikya Arna Koriho Maneyash. Arna Koriho Maneyash. That that we make. What does this mean? What does this word mean? This sentence, this verse. What does it mean? Huh? Wrong. That's right. And then no. What happens after that? Arna Kori. I don't have any other desire but to serve him. And this other Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. That whatever comes from the spiritual master's mouth, that is the topmost thing. The topmost thing. I do not care for anything else. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. Chittete Koriya. I'll make this one with my heart. I'll make it one with my heart. And when we make the orders of the spiritual master one with our heart, then naturally, then all the other things, everything will go away. Where is this prema bhakti ahote avidya vinasha jate. All our material desires go away. That's why in all of the Vedic literatures, in all of the Puranas, in everything I've read in Prabhupada's books, and everything, I have there's four favorite words. My four favorite words in all of Shastra, which I really, hope to one day completely follow and apply in my life. And that is Guru Vakya Parama Mahatva. That the order of the spiritual master is of the topmost importance. There's nothing more important than the order of the spiritual master. By serving the bona fide spiritual master, a person can attain all perfection. Guru Vakya Parama Mahatva. Keep that in your head. Keep that in your mind all the time. Guru Vakya Parama Mahatva. There is nothing higher than this. Serving the instructions of the spiritual master. The spiritual master tells you, your service now, every day is to make garland for the deities, bathe them and decorate them. You just do that every day until you leave this world. You will go to the spiritual world and do the same thing in the spiritual world. You will do the same thing. The spiritual master says, do something, do it. Your service now, Prabhuji, every day is to just simply clean the pots every day. Clean it. You may be assisting the great associates of Krishna in cleaning Krishna's pots. There's nothing mundane about the orders of the spiritual master. There's nothing mundane of the instruction of the spiritual master. And with the instruction of the spiritual master comes the potency. It comes the potency to actually fulfill that order. It's inconceivable. It's inconceivable. But it's actually there. It's actually there. Although I'm very unqualified and very insignificant and, very, everyone knows my disqualifications. Even when my Guru Maharaj asked me to do something and I tried to do it, it actually is amazing how it actually happens. That, he actually does it. The spiritual master is actually the person who does it. But what is the material, what does the conditioned soul think? Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma karta ahamiti manyate. Like Prabhupada is saying, a fully dependent devotee, like Shukadev Goswami, unlike mundane person who is proud of his own capability, invokes the pleasure of the personality of Godhead so that he may be successful and be appreciated by, his statements may be successful and be appreciated by the hearers. The devotee declines to take credit for anything done by himself. The godless atheist wants to take all the credits for his activities. Everything happened. Yes, I did it. Yes, I'm so great. Yes, I'm so. But no, a person who actually has any common sense will realize that actually it's Krishna who's doing it. It's actually my Guru Maharaj. He's doing it. My Guru Maharaj, he's doing. Prabhupada said, I'm so fortunate. All of you were sent to be my Guru Maharaj. All of you were sent to me by my Guru Maharaj. All of you came. All of you are sent to me by my Guru Maharaj. And all of you are actually coming to make sure that, I'm performing my duties properly. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told his disciples, when he was giving a Vyasa Puja, that he had received 3 instructions from the spiritual master. One of them was to never take disciples. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to never take disciples. And he's sitting on a Vyasasan and he's instructing this to his disciples. Then he thought, actually none of you are my disciples. All of you are my gurus who have come here to make sure that I can practice my Krishna consciousness properly. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw it like that. Isn't that so amazing? Like when we look at a disciplic succession, we can think, Ihara Paramahamsa, Gorangira Nija Bamsa, Tandira Charane Mama Gati. That all these Paramahamsas, all these, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Baldev Vidyabhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur. Just saying their names gives us great ecstasy. Just thinking of them is so amazing. That all of them, Ihara Paramahamsa, who are they? Gaurangera Nijabhamsa. They're all part of Lord Chaitanya's family. They're directly coming from Lord Chaitanya's family. Tandera Charane Mama Gati. It's so beautiful. Tandera Charane Mama Gati. That the lotus feet are my ultimate refuge and destination. The lotus feet are my ultimate refuge and destination. Tandera Charane Mama Gati. Ami Seba Udasina. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Ami Seba Udasina. That me, as far as I'm concerned, this is a little funny. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, as far as I'm concerned, I have no hope for devotional service. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying this. Ami Seba Udasina. I have no inclination to perform devotional service. Name Teti Dandi Dina. I am this lowly sannyasi, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. He says this, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying that he has no inclination to perform devotional service. So that is the attitude. Bhakti Siddhanta, we have to understand this, that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a photographic memory where he could remember books that he read when he was 10 years old, even when he was on his so-called deathbed. Even when he was performing pastimes of leaving, he could remember what he read when he was 10 years old from some random book somewhere. He had photographic memory. He was the most erudite scholar that the world has ever seen. What is this? Raghu Rupa Sanatana Kirti Dharam. Oh, why is it not coming? Raghu Rupa Sanatana Kirti Dharam. Dharani Tala Kirti Jiva Kavim. Kaviraja Narotama Sakya Padam. Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. That Raghu Rupa Sanatana Kirti Dharam. That Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is holding the staff or the victory flag of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Sri Jiva Goswami and Gopala Bhatta Goswami. He is holding the victory flag, the staff of victory, the torch of the Guru Parampara, Raghu Rupa Sanatana Kirti Dharam. He is widely distributing the fame. He is widely spreading the fame of the 6 Goswamis. Raghu Rupa Sanatana Kirti Dharam. Dharanitala Kirtita Jiva Kavam. And what else? The only person, only person after Jiva Goswami who came to the same erudition of scholarship is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. It's such a beautiful verse, you see. It's so beautiful. What is that? Raghurupa Sanatana Kirtita Dharam Dharanitala Kirtita Jiva Kavam. There's no, the only person who comes close to the erudition of Jiva Goswami is our Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Jiva Kavim. Kavi Raja Narotama Sakya Padam. He is famous all over the world. What is he famous for? What is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur famous for? To have made the instructions of Krishnadas Kaviraj and Narottam Das Thakur one with his heart. Kaviraj and Narotama Sakya Padam. Pranamami Sada Prabhupada Padam. That he is completely in tune, in line with the previous acharyas, and he is saying, Ami Seba Udasina, Name Titi Dandi Dina, Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. How do we understand this? But like Prabhupada is saying, a devotee never takes credit for himself. He always thinks of himself as being the instrument of the previous acharyas, as being the instrument of his spiritual master. We can simply hope to be used as an instrument in the hands of the bona fide spiritual master. We can only hope to do this. Otherwise, other than this, we have no hope. We have no hope. At least, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely no hope. Zero amount of hope. So we can always pray to Krishna. You were asking, how do we pray to Guru Maharaj? How do we pray to Krishna? One thing which I've learned from Srila Prabhupada, which he writes about in his Bhajan Krishna Tava Punahavi Bhai, that we can look at this verse where Prabhupada is saying, um, over here, he says, I think it's verse number 3. Uh, it's 4. Se kaja kori bhare agna jari dilo more jogya nahi ati dinahim. Tai se somar kripa magi techi anurupa aji tomar sabhara praveen. He's saying, although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am unworthy to do it. Being very fallen and incompetent, being very fallen and incompetent. That being the case, O Lord Krishna, your mercies today are rising in a befitting manner to make me become worthy, for you are the wisest of all. That's how you pray. You know, Prabhupada is teaching us. Tomara se Shakti Pele Guru Sebai Basu Mile. This is so beautiful actually. Tomara se Shakti Pele Guru Sebai Basu Mile. That if you give me the potency, if you give me the potency, or if you bless me, if you give me the Shakti, then I will get the Vastu. Vastu is written Vastu in Bengali, Va is a Ba, no? Sometimes, most of the time when they say. Guru say by Vastu Mile, that we will actually get the Vastu, the object of devotional service to the spiritual master. You know? Guru say by Vastu Mile, Jivana Sartak Jadi Hoy. Then my life will be successful. Say seva pale, tahale sukhi hale, tabe sangya bhagyate miloy. If you bestow your divine power, then one attains a factual substance which is service to the spiritual master. What is the only vastava vastu that you have? What is the only vastava vastu? You know, where does anyone know this verse from where I'm saying this vastava vastu? Vastava? That's right. That's from the first verse of the Bhagavatam, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janma Dyasya Yaton Yavaditarata Shatesh Avijñā Swarat Tene Brahma Hidaya Adi Kave Muhyanti Surayaha Teno Tejo Vadi Tejo Vadi Mridam. What does it say? Vinimayo Yatrati Sargom Risha Damna Svena Sada Nirasakam Satyam Param Dhimaya. Sorry. It's the next verse. Dharma Projita Kaita Votra Paramo Nirmat Saranam Sata Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam. That Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam. That what is the only Vastava Vastu, the only eternal factual substance that a person, a devotee has, is service to the spiritual master. That is the only Vastava Vastu that a person can possess. Everything else is avastava vastu. Everything else is simply a temporary object, a temporary desire, a temporary way of life. Everything else is temporary. The only thing which is eternal is Bhagavan, Bhakti, and Bhakta. The only things which are eternal are devotional service, Krishna, and the devotees. Every living entity is a devotee of Krishna. The only three eternal things. Nothing else is eternal. Nothing else. And how will we get the mercy of the Supreme Lord? How will we get all these things? By following the orders of the spiritual master. That's the only way. That's the only way. If that service is obtained, then one becomes truly satisfied and ultimately received your association due to good fortune. And then Prabhupada quotes this really amazing verse. Where is this? Evam janam nipatitam prabhavahi kupe कामाभिकाममनुयः प्रपतन् प्रसंगात् कृत्वा स्मसात् सुरशिना भगवान् गृहीत सोहम कथं नु विसिजे तव भृत्य सेवाम्. That's said by Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Nrsimhadev in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.28. Thus, by associating with material desires one after another, I was following the general populace by following into a blind well full of snakes. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the great sage Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve the transcendental position similar to his own. How could I ever leave the service of your servant? How could I ever leave? There's so many. I'm forgetting the name of an acharya, but he was serving his spiritual master so well, and then While he was in the middle of the service of the spiritual master, Krishna and a couple of the Krishna and his associates, they appear in front of him, and he sees the supreme personality of Godhead and does all these things. But he says, Krishna is, it's, thank you, for being here, but I have to go serve my spiritual master. And he goes and serves the spiritual master, and then, Krishna gives the indication to the spiritual master that, your disciple just saw me, but he'd rather come and serve you. And the spiritual master was so happy. Spiritual master blessed him completely. You know, there is no limit to how much the spiritual master can be served. There's no limit to the potency of the spiritual master. There's no limit to the potency. It's it's really inconceivable. It's really inconceivable then. That once the spiritual master says something, and what before seems to be impossible, it actually becomes possible. You go and preach in the West, and then there'll be Western Vaishnavas. No one ever heard of Krishna consciousness, and no one could ever imagine that Western people could take on to Krishna consciousness, become devotees, and go back home, back to Godhead in this life. No one could ever imagine that. So many of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples, they thought, oh, anyway, it says this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, maybe it just means Bengal, maybe it just means this, maybe some figurative thing. But Prabhupada had faith in the words of his spiritual master. Prabhupada had faith. He knew. He knew. Over here also, Prabhupada is writing that Shukadev Goswami is not presenting some metaphysical or physical speculations of the absolute truth, but he actually wants to present facts, and he wants to hear the facts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just like Lord Brahma did. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Just like Lord Brahma heard from Krishna in his heart, Shukadev Goswami is also praying to hear the voice of Krishna from his heart in such a way that he can enliven the audience that he's speaking to. Similarly, Prabhupada is also praying to Krishna, and Prabhupada says that that his purpose are actually dictated to him by Krishna. That Krishna is personally sitting in front of him and telling him what to write. So what we are reading is actually nothing other than Krishna himself speaking to Srila Prabhupada. These books are Krishna's love letters to us. Krishna is telling us, please come back, please come back. Come back, please come back. How long will you make me work? I don't know. Some people find the wall very interesting today. But, we see that what we have to understand is that the most interesting thing is actually Krishna. The most interesting thing is actually the service of the spiritual master. That's the most amazing thing, the most interesting thing. At least in Bhagavatam class, we should try not to be spaced out. We should try not to chant shlokas and sing bhajans and think of all these things in our minds. For once, we can stop being mental and focus in the Bhagavatam class. Because when we do this, Nasta Prayesho Bhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Utama Shoke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. That when we listen to this, and all the unwanted things in our heart will go away. Firstly, we have to come to terms with the reality that our hearts are full of nonsense, our hearts are full of anarthas, hearts are full of all these things. And then we can also understand that the solution is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. By hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, by doing all these things, then we can actually attain devotional service to Krishna. We can actually attain devotional service to Krishna. And by attaining devotional service to Krishna, there's nothing more that we can need, nothing more we can want. There's this verse in the Bhagavatam. Yat pada, Yat anudyasina yukta. No, oh my God, I'm forgetting this verse. It's such a beautiful verse. Oh man. Hare Krishna. Yeah, vetatvam shomyata sarvam tatvatastat anugrahat pruhyu snigdasya shishyasya guruvo guhyam apyuta, sorry. And the sages are telling Sutta Goswami, why are you qualified to speak the Bhagavatam? And because you are submissive and your spiritual masters have endowed you with all favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. And because you're submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed upon you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. And we just have to be submissive. We just have to be submissive. we're submissive to the spiritual master, submissive to the representatives of the spiritual master, then so much knowledge, so much empowerment comes. I have practical experience of this. By being submissive to my authority, so much empowerment comes. So much. You know, it's unbelievable. Even when I was under an authority who was clearly exploiting me, and he didn't care, for ultimately for my final benefit and all this. Even then, because the instruction he was giving me was not out of line with Guru Sadhu and Shastra, even when I followed him and I was submissive to him, the reciprocation of Krishna was unbelievable. You know. So it's very simple. What's the difficulty? What's the difficulty? We simply have to follow the orders of the spiritual master, and then following. Comes what else comes with the orders? What else comes with following the orders of the spiritual master? The empowerment comes with it. You know, that's why when we hear the spiritual master speak, we should be very attentive. Why? Because Prabhupada says in one lecture, and this is really beautiful, the voice of the spiritual master is Krishna talking to you. That's so amazing. That the voice of the spiritual master is Krishna talking to you. Krishna is talking to you through the spiritual master. That's so beautiful. Prabhupada is saying this. Prabhupada is saying this. You know, that's why once Ramanujacharya was visiting Goshti Purna, who's his spiritual master, and he saw that Goshti Purna was completely entranced in meditation. He's completely entranced in meditation. And then when he came out of his meditation, he asked him, "My dear spiritual master, what supreme mantra were you meditating upon?" And what did Goshi Purna say? There is no higher mantra than the lotus feet of the Guru. There is no higher mantra than the lotus feet of the Guru. There is no higher mantra than the lotus feet of the Guru. So we have to worship Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakati Sadma, Vandon Mui Savadhana Mate. That we worship the lotus feet of the spiritual master with great awe and reverence, with great attention. We simply strictly abide, by the orders of the spiritual master. Strictly abide, we focus our mind on it. And we simply do that one thing, we can attain perfection in this life. Take that as 100% fact, you know. So I'll end the class here anyway because we're not going out today. I took a little few minutes here and there. So any questions or comments or protests or corrections, we're willing to take them. Anshul Prabhu, do you have anything? Okay. Yes. Jita Girish.
You quoted this verse in the 10th canto,
Uh-huh.
and it said something about how Krishna is like a decoration upon the ears of the gopis.
Now the glories of Krishna were constant ornaments on their
Oh,
ears
the
of the wives
glories
of the
of
Vedic
Krishna.
Brahmanas.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's so beautiful, right? It's so exciting. Yes. Anything else? Yes, Nolly.
Besides the Maha Mantra, should like all of our prayers be directed strictly towards the spiritual
No,
master?
you see, it's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that. Like that's why I was saying. We can pray to Krishna. So my guru gave me this order. You please help me. You know, it's practical. Me, Abhimanyu, and myself were really suffering after going to a truck stop. And I told him, Abhi, no matter what, bro, we got to do 2 Bhagavatams today. We got to do it. And why? Because Guru Maharaj asked us to do it. And you know we went to this suffering, it was a day. Me and Abhi have like this thing where most of the time when we go out we get purified. We suffer like anything. And we went to this suffering parking lot, whatever it was, in Peachtree, where they were like all puffed up people. It was anyway. And then, somehow the other, I came across this Kroger's worker, and I sold a Bhagavatam set to him, and I was like, oh man, I really thought to myself, I really want to do another Bhagavatam. So then I thought, okay, you know what? There's this thing called Mathanasium where, these all these Indian parents send their Indian kids to learn math. I also went to a similar thing like that, where all these tricks to learn math and add all these numbers and all this stuff like that. So I also went to math tuition. Used to go there in the money, whatever. So I went there, and I told Abhi, I'm gonna set up shop outside there. I'll definitely do another Bhagavatam. And then like this mathnasium was all the way on the corner of that parking lot from which we got kicked out of. And we go all the way there. And then I go there to find out that this thing is closed. And I only had like 15 minutes left. I thought, what the hell? At least, I might as well at least just walk back to the car. When I was walking back, I saw the Spanish guy. I was like, hey, man, like, and I started like, and hey, what's up? And like, this guy came up to me like, wow, this is a sign from Krishna. I know Krishna is going to come through this and that. And the guy didn't speak a lick of English. And I was still convincing him to take the bag with him. He still didn't do it. And then I was like, anyway, I was still praying to Krishna, saying to Krishna, my Guru Maharaj, ordered me to distribute this Bhagavatams, to Westerners. You please help me, You please, I was still praying. So right when I pulled up, I saw Abhimanyu, and then out of nowhere, this other guy just shows up. And like, I just like make eye contact with him. I start preaching to him, and he buys the Bhagavatam right there on the spot with 2 minutes left. Krishna comes in clutch. But the best way Krishna hears your prayers is when you recite the prayers of the spiritual masters, of the acharyas. And then you request Krishna, see Krishna, like, you and I both love the same person. You love my guru, I'm trying to love my guru. So, if you can please help me serve my guru, then, you see, so Krishna helps, and when you go to the guru, what does guru do? He engages you in the service of Krishna. So it's like a loving transcendental relationship between the spiritual master and Krishna, and you're in the middle, and that's the nectar. you know. Or the guru is in the middle. Sorry, you're not in the middle. The guru is in the middle, and you're on the lotus feet of the spiritual master. But you can pray to Krishna to help you serve the spiritual master. You know, and then like this is always a competition between the guru and Krishna. So who will glorify each other more? Who will serve each other more? The guru is very expert. Prabhupada is in one place. Guru is very expert at avoiding service from Krishna. Therefore, Krishna uses the disciples to serve their guru in order to fulfill Krishna's own desires. You know, so it's very amazing actually. That everyone wants to fall in love. Everyone wants to fall in love. But the real person to fall in love with is the spiritual master. There's no love purer than that. There's no relationship sweeter than that. There's no relationship more, there's no relationship purer than that. There's nothing contaminated between that. Especially bona fide spiritual master. To fall in love with the bona fide spiritual master is the perfection of life. Nothing better. Yes, Isaac. Mhm.
Please, could you explain one more time what is the meaning of Guru Vakya Parama
Guru
Mahatya?
Vakya Parama Mahatva. Guru. What does Guru mean?
Master.
Vakya,
Mouth?
words. Vakya means words
Words.
or what he says. Guru Vakya. Parama means what?
Yes.
Greatest. Parama means greatest. Ishvara Parama Krishna, right? Greatest. Parama means what?
Greatest.
Mahatva means?
Great.
No. That's Mahatma. Come on.
Mahat.
Mahatva.
Great true.
No. Yeah, no you're thinking of Tattva. No. You speak Nepali, right? You should. No. What does that word mean? Mahatva means importance. you know, importance. Guru Vakya Parama Mahatva. That this is the orders of the spiritual master is of the topmost importance. Okay, the orders of the spiritual master is the topmost importance. That's what it means. Nothing more, nothing less. Guru Vakya Parama Mahatva. 241. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekiha kurunandana bahushaka yanantasya buddhayo vyavasayana. With one pointed attention. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the orders of my spiritual master of my life and soul. In life or in death, let the whole world burn, let the whole world come to an end, I will still serve the orders of my spiritual master. So one should have the determination to do that. Anything else from the men's side? Chandan, you have something? Nolly.
Also, I mean, most of us haven't received like direct order like you have, but can you kind of sum
You
up?
actually have. You don't know? I'll read out the
Oh.
order to you right now. Listen.
Yeah,
Open both your ears and hear it.
Oh, I see.
May the devotees of Krishna Life Alana continue to distribute thousands of Srila Prabhupada's books for
Jai-
his divine pleasure, Bhakti Vikas Swami. Okay, so part of Krishna Life, you got your order right there.
Alrighty.
I also got the same order like you. It's not like I got a special one or something like that. Okay, so is that good?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Matajis, please. Yeah, y'all are going out on books today. Who's going to do a Bhagavatam? Raise your hand. No hands go up.
Sorry, Prabhu. Nali already asked my question.
Okay. No one, Mataji, anyone else? Anyone else? Yes, no? So, going to try to do a Bhagavatam today, I hope. Try, at least try. Y'all used to distribute so many books before. Are you serious, bro? We will figure that out. Okay, anyway, okay. If you're not going out on books today and you're tying books, at least tomorrow distribute books, you know. Y'all used to distribute lots of books before. Bring back the Mataji power and distribute lots of books, okay? Thank you so much for your kind attention. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Prabhupada stands in book distribution ki jai. Taking over the world with Shri Prabhupada stands in book distribution ki jai. Vansha kalpatarubhya kripa sandabhya chapaditanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.